The guy we really need to mention, Patrick Mahomes. Can we just circle him right here? People are going to say, why is Patrick Mahomes in this tier? And let me just say, look, if you stack up the last 2 years, the grade says very clearly, top 3, top 4 quarterback. I would take him, absolutely, but throw for throw this year, it's been a big difference from last year. Over 5% more negatively graded throws this year versus last year. That's the biggest drop-off of anybody.
How's our financial plan coming?
Super! Chris, any advice?
With Western and Southern, preparing for your financial future can be easier than you think. Favorite receiver?
Huh?
To get started, visit westernsouthern.com.
Who are we starting with?
All right, yeah, I did this over at PFF.com, just based off of PFF overall grade. We've got the few guys down at the bottom, Drew Lock, Duck, Devlin Hodges, and David Blau. Not enough information, so we just threw them down at the bottom. I think the important names to note here, we've seen Daniel Jones have some highs and lows, the turnover-worthy plays. He has to cut down on them. And I think there's a lot of hype for Josh Allen right now, who's had one of the more fascinating seasons. When he's thrown the ball up to 20 yards, number 5 passing grade in the NFL. But when he's thrown the ball beyond 20 yards, by far the worst in the NFL, 34.3. So he's turned from this big-armed, heave the ball down the field type of guy to a very efficient short passer, has to cut down on the turnover-worthy plays, and he ranks just 37th in big-time throw percentage. Josh Allen with his cannon for an arm, just not really doing it the way you'd expect. Efficient short game, though.
And a huge theme of this particular group of players is some of the stuff that doesn't show up on the box score. Because there's actually some pretty nice, touchdown to interception ratios in this group.
For sure.
But there's also a ton of fumbles that don't necessarily show up on those box score numbers, but definitely get factored in when you start talking about turnover-worthy plays, the lowest graded plays that we have at PFF. So, Kyle Allen, for example, Daniel Jones, for example, those guys are both tied for second when it comes to turnover-worthy plays. Those are the kind of things that drag the grade of those guys down when the numbers don't necessarily say it should be that way.
Yeah, turnover-worthy plays are high for those guys. And then the other guy of note is Jacoby Brissett, who is 15th in passer rating, but down a little bit lower on our list. And that usually means there's some scheming, there's some luck involved, and that's been Brissett so far this season. So this is the bottom quadrant so far. Right now we get to the next tier right now. I think the interesting name here is Matt Ryan. He's almost annually just been this top 10 guy over the last few years, closer to a top 3 or 4 when you stack up a few of his seasons. Ryan's turnover-worthy play percentage is through the roof this year. This is his worst graded season since 2009, and you can almost directly attribute it to the pressure that he's felt behind that rough offensive line in Atlanta.
Yeah, a lot of people thought the Atlanta Falcons had fixed their offensive line because they went hard after it in the draft, but that means you're banking on young rookie players transforming your offensive line. That usually isn't the way it works. So Matt Ryan has been under a ton more pressure this year, obviously causing a lot of those problems. A couple other names, Baker Mayfield, we thought he was a top 10 quarterback heading into the year. Everything in Cleveland has just been near enough an unmitigated disaster on offense, and Baker has been a part of that, struggling as well, not been playing nearly as well as he did last year.
Yeah, hasn't been great, and he's in this is the third tier. We're working backwards here, and Mayfield, maybe hasn't been as bad as some of the stats would show. He's had some bad interception luck. He's got 15 turnover-worthy plays and 14 interceptions. You're usually not one-to-one in that ratio. A few other guys have way more turnover-worthy plays that aren't showing up in the stats, but too many miscommunications, some poor pocket presence from Mayfield, not exactly the second-year step that we expected. And then the other guy I think of note, Jared Goff, too. He's a similar quarterback to Matt Ryan. We thought that coming out. I wasn't expecting to see them ranked in this tier at this point, but Goff's taken a big step back this year as well. Turnover-worthy plays for him have been through the roof. He's become quite the volatile quarterback so far this year.
Speaking of volatile quarterbacks, we can't let this slide go without talking about your boy,
Jameis.
The most volatile quarterback in all of football, Jameis Winston, who even this year, not playing nearly as well as he has done in the past, still is second in the NFL in terms of percentage of positively graded throws. He is still making a ton of good plays. It's just that he's also leading the league in turnover-worthy plays. So he's making more mistakes, more bad mistakes than he ever has in the past. There is no more volatile, enigmatic, mercurial quarterback than Jameis.
Yeah, over 5% turnover-worthy play percentage. Kind of been the story of his career. The positive grades that you mentioned, his ability to throw the ball beyond the sticks, give his guys opportunities to move the chains. That's always been Jameis's MO, but the question has been, can he just miss fewer throws? Because he misses a lot, but also just not make those boneheaded decisions. To this point in his career, We just haven't seen it.
Never met a seam route he didn't want to hit.
Loves it.
Still throwing them.
Loves to chuck it. All right, this is the next tier, 9 through 17 or so, whatever this is here. So Aaron Rodgers, he dropped down a little bit. 2 really, really bad games at the Los Angeles Chargers, but especially at the San Francisco 49ers. He was just horrible on Sunday Night Football, the worst grade we've ever seen from Rodgers. His grade is really propped up by 2 excellent games against the Detroit Lions, against the Oakland Raiders, but still trying to find that consistency that I think he's lacked the last couple of years. Big time throws are still there. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way, but positively graded throws are way down from what we saw in Rodgers' peak.
And still remains, in a different way to Alex Smith, but similarly pathologically conservative. Just will not put the ball in harm's way. Has, one of the lowest turnover percentages, turnover-worthy play percentages. Does not risk the football, but at some point you need to be a little bit more aggressive and recapture some of the positives that you're leaving on the table.
Yeah, and then I think the other guy we really need to mention, Patrick Mahomes. Can we just circle him right here? People are going to say, why is Patrick Mahomes in this tier? And let me just say, look, if you stack up the last 2 years, the grade says very clearly, top 3, top 4 quarterback. I would take him, absolutely, but throw for throw this year, it's been a big difference from last year. Over 5% more negatively graded throws this year versus last year. That's the biggest drop-off of anybody in the NFL. So he still has these incredible stats, but I think the beauty of the PFF grade is you could separate it from the stats and say, okay, if the numbers look good, there's something going on with the playmakers, with the play calling, and I think the Chiefs have been fantastic at scheming open receivers, and Mahomes is just missing more throws than he did a year ago. So again, I think that's scary for the NFL because he's still a special player, and there's more plays to be made in that offense.
And remember, this year we're dealing with injuries in a way
and he's been banged up,
dealing with the previous season. So a lot of this decline in Patrick Mahomes is because he's been battling through ankle, knee injuries. He's been fighting through stuff that he didn't have to deal with a season ago.
Yeah, and a lot of different styles here. You've got Carson Wentz, who started off great since week 7, though. He's our number 30th graded quarterback, so he's really dropped off a ton. You have Derek Carr. You talk about pathologically conservative. He is just not driving the ball down the field. He has the number 2 grade of any quarterback throwing the ball at 10-plus yards down the field. So when he throws it, he's awesome. I mean, he's throwing the ball accurately, on time, but he's got the 28th most attempts at 10-plus yards. Oakland, let him throw the ball, especially when you're in blowout situations these last couple weeks.
And then at the other end of the scale, you've got Yolo Fitzpatrick down here.
Right there.
Yep.
Yolo Fitzpatrick.
Yolo Fitzpatrick.
And that's why the Dolphins have a shot. I mean, he's given Devontae Parker chances to make plays down the field.
It's working.
And it is working. Fitzpatrick, his play the last 2 years has actually been really good because he did go on that stretch with the Bucs last year, where his first 3 weeks were as good as any first 3 weeks in NFL history. He tapered off just a little bit, but that aggressiveness that he has works pretty well in today's NFL, giving those guys chances to make plays down the field.
Okay, who we got at the sharp end?
All right, and I went the wrong way. Here we go. Top end, Russell Wilson sitting atop the quarterback grades. He, look, we talk about big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays a lot here. Those are the extremes for quarterback. Russell Wilson, number 1 in big-time throws and number 1 at avoiding turnover-worthy plays. It doesn't get much better than that. That's the type of stuff we've seen from Brady in the past, from Peyton Manning, from Aaron Rodgers. That is the elite type of stuff from Russell Wilson this year. It's definitely his best season throwing the football.
It really is. We're starting to reach that point where Wilson is basically just atop all of the metrics.
Right.
Almost regardless of what you look at, he's number 1. Now, the only thing you can criticize him for, and honestly, it's not even his fault, is that he doesn't have to do as much as some of these other guys. The Seahawks desperately want to run the ball more than most teams. They have the 6th highest rate, I think, in terms of run-pass splits. They want to establish the run. They want to take the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands more than some of these other quarterbacks. So you can argue how much he has to do compared with some of the other players on this list.
The one thing about that style is they feel like, hey, then we can run play action and you get to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And Wilson has been fantastic at doing that. We have Drew Brees at number 2. He's just been efficient, accurate, hasn't really thrown the ball down the field a lot. There's some concerns, only 6 completions at 20-plus yards, but as always, lowest percentage of negatively graded throws this year for Brees. And of course, Lamar Jackson, everybody's talking about him, the MVP hype there, by far the highest graded rushing quarterback this year.
Yeah.
If you just take his designed runs, he's 18th in the NFL as a runner. If you just compared him to running backs on designed runs, when you add in the scrambles, he's 7th. So fantastic as a runner, but his jump as a passer, Sam, we weren't expecting it. We
Massive.
thought it was possible, but he has just been fantastic as far as his accuracy goes this year compared to last.
And you have to bear in mind with Drew Brees, he hasn't played as much as some of these other guys,
Right.
so he's dodged some of the bullets that these guys have taken in terms of, the bad day at the office that happens every now and again. So, Lamar
That
Jackson.
he had. Deshaun
Right,
Watson has
exactly.
2 games. If you take away 2 games for Watson, he's right up here with Wilson. You can't take him away, but
Right.
he's been unbelievable outside of maybe 2 or 3 performances.
And you can say the same thing with Kirk Cousins. Start of
After
the
his
season,
first 2.
Cousins had those rough games. Everybody here has had those stinkers. Drew Brees so far has avoided them, but he's also missed a lot of games. So
Just want to explain Tom Brady away as well, because the stats are way down, and I think there are some narratives out there that either he's completely declining, some people are blaming the receivers. There's certainly a combination of both. We're used to seeing him way up near the top here. He's not playing maybe as poorly as the stats, but clearly a step back from where he's been over these last couple of years. Just not as bad as some of the stats would show. Many miscommunications, throwaways in there, especially these last few weeks. His first 3 weeks of the season, he was the highest graded quarterback. That's what's helping to prop him up. Since week 3, though, graded at only 17th. So that's why I think perception on him is lower than we are, because those first 3 weeks of the season still count.
right, recency bias.
Yes.
He's been 17th the last 3 weeks, therefore he's trash.
Yeah, but he is dropping, though, so he's lower than expected. Ryan Tannehill making a
He's going the
top
other way.
8 performance. Yeah, Tannehill's been fantastic, turning the Tennessee season around. Good stuff. Check it all out, PFF.com.
Absolutely. Head to PFF.com, see the write-ups, read what Steve has to say. We all want to read what Steve has to say, but that'll do it for this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.